everybody. This is going to be so fun. They're all like dancing backstage. My name is Carrie Craddock. I'm the Senior Manager of Programming here at the festival. We're very fortunate to be able to have a Q&A with the director Wayne Blair and the entire cast this evening. Before we get to it, just take a couple minutes to let you know how it's going to go. It's very dark in here, so if you can just please raise your hands high, speak as loudly and clearly as you can, and make your questions brief. We'll get to more of you. And I will try to always repeat them for the benefit of everybody else here. Okay, without further ado, please join me in welcoming back to the stage the director and cast of Sapphires. Your first feature. Maybe you can talk a little bit about why you wanted to make this film and where your inspiration came from.
Well, just to give you a little bit of history, it was a musical, stage musical that Tony Briggs solely wrote back in 2004, 2005, and it was a hit in Sydney and Melbourne. And after that, Tony Briggs, the writer, got a number of phone calls from producers in Australia and around the world to make it into a film. And basically the last 6 or 7 years, I was actually an actor in that original show, along with Deb, and we played Cynthia and Jimmy in that show. So it's a little bit of, that's the history of it. In the last 3 or 4 years, were the Tony and joined forces with Keith, joined forces with Gold Coast Films, and we made the film. So that's the 25 word or less version.
Okay, we'll open it up to you guys now. Is there anybody that has a question for anyone on stage?
Anyone along here? This is probably the only chance you'll get.
Yes, on the aisle in the red. So there's just a compliment about all the singing in the movie. You guys are fantastic. And just a question about how you went about casting everyone.
Yep. Basically it took about 8 to 10 months, and we looked at sort of any Indigenous girl in Australia. We sort of went through the internet, through casting. Nikki Barrett casted out of Australia. So that took 8 to 10 months, and then we saw about 150, and we cut it back and got callbacks after callbacks, and then we got down to these last 4. So it was that basically, because we wanted to see if we can unearth some talent in Australia with these 4 sisters. And I suppose the primary sort of mission statement was to get 4 girls that would be a tight family. Not only for the production or principal photography and the rehearsals beforehand, but for the journey the film has done in the last 6 months. And we got the 4.
Can I ask you how Chris came to be on board on the project, or maybe you want to answer that?
Chris, do you want to answer that?
Well, the short answer is I was their first choice after the other 6 guys turned it down.
Yeah, the original script was an English person, and when I saw Chris in LA, the film Bridesmaids, and had a couple of conversations, and it was a no-brainer. And the writers, producers, and myself just all his Irish sensibilities, and we just sort of bled into the script. It was just done overnight like that, and he's obviously great as well.
front here.
Repeat the question.
Chris, how long did it take you to master that move there, and when will the soundtrack be available?
When is the soundtrack available? It's out on iTunes, right? It's #1 in Australia right now. Let's bring that out, get it out. And the dance is just natural.
Wouldn't expect anything less. Okay. Anybody in the balcony we should get to? Let's see. Yes. Yes, go ahead. In preparing for the film, did any of you meet the actual real woman that you portrayed?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to meet with the aunties before we started filming, whilst we were filming, and we've had a lot of contact with them the last few weeks since the film's been released in Australia. They're amazing, inspirational women who have done a bucket load for the Indigenous communities over the last 40 years, and it's an honour to portray them.
Just on the aisle here.
Based on the conversations you had with the people you portrayed, how did they receive the film?
Based on the conversations you've had with the people that you portrayed, how have they been receiving the film?
Well, they loved it. They loved it. You know, there's a lot of, it is loosely based on their experience, so, you know, a lot of stuff that they're going, really? How did we? But no, I mean, for them, at the time when they were singing back in the 60s, for them it was just about the music and about singing. I don't think they themselves recognised the extraordinary achievement that they were doing within their own lives. And I think this film has sort of brought that attention and that reality to them, which is really wonderful to see. So when we premiered in Australia in Melbourne, everyone stood up for the armies, and that was such a beautiful moment. They took it all in and it was great.
Question. Anybody up there? Okay, I always go to the front, but I can see you, so go on.
Is it hard to license the songs? Is there very many well-known songs?
There are many well-known songs featured in the film. Was it hard to get the licensing for those?
It's funny, yeah, we sort of, the writers, yes, it was. But it's funny, the majority of the songs you'd think were hard to get, but, you know, say half, they were our favourites, like the Jackson 5, Who's Loving You, was very easy. In a sense, it's still a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails. But that was a beautiful, I said, what, we got Who's Loving You? Same with Linda Lindell's What a Man, as two examples. But it was, the producers did an amazing job, and it sort of didn't happen over in 6 months. I think it happened for a couple of years. So I just sort of said, oh, well, that song, and you know, 6 months later, we got that song. So I didn't do all that work.
Okay, we have time for a couple more. Yes, go ahead. Up here first.
Was the name of the group in real life the Sapphires, and was it really based on the rank of the one girl?
So was the name of the real group the Sapphires, and was it really based on, pardon, what was the last part?
On the ring.
On the ring.
Yeah, it was. Yes and yes.
There you go, that's really easy. You're waving your hand in the front of the balcony.
Most difficult scene to film, and for each of you actually. And what kind of results do you see from yourself coming from that?
So if each of the actors could run through what you thought your most difficult scene to film was, and kind of like what you learned from that.
Mine was certainly the crying scene. My profession is a singer-songwriter back in Australia, so I'm still kind of getting used to the whole acting thing. But yeah, it was certainly the crying scene where I kind of been, yeah, I guess, sorry, yeah, that's right. I could just hear Wayne in the back of the camera, and he's like, "You're not crying, give me a crying face." And I'm just like, "But this is my crying face." Yeah, it was late night. nights and early mornings, but so much fun working with these guys. Just total crack-ups, really. Yeah, heaps of fun. Oh, what's my... I found I hate helicopters. And when you're running towards a helicopter blade that's going full force, it's pretty frightening stuff along with a lot of the explosions, so that was quite tricky for me. But also the moment I loved is when we were doing the scene when Kay returns back home to country, sitting on the banks of the Murray River and having Yorta Yorta language spoken. It's pretty amazing.
I gotta go with being shot. Just really fond of myself. Just don't like to see me getting hurt.
Well, as you all know, I had like one scene in the film, so I'd say this would be my most difficult scene.
Mine's kind of boring. Because we had such a long audition process of 8 months, we workshopped a lot of the scenes in that. And so by the time we got to filming, for Miranda and myself, it's our first film. By the time we got to it, we felt so supported by Wayne and Deb and Jess, Chris, everyone just came on board and really made it a beautiful entry into the film world. But difficult in terms of emotion would be, the coming home scene. And basically anything, the Tupperware scene, pouring coffee and talking at the same time with a camera is really quite, I'm terrible at that.
Mine had to be eaten by a leech. Walking through mud. You'd think, an Aboriginal person will be one with the land and the bush. And here I am screaming, "You're really putting that leech on me?" And Wayne said, "Yes, Miranda, just please do it." So yes, that was my scene. But I still had a great time.
Mine was trying to get Dave Lovelace to listen to me down line. I'm used to being a commanding presence, and over the phone I couldn't do that with Dave.
There was one person waving their hand in the back of the balcony. I think we'll take that as the last question. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you.
I wanted to know, it was a great film, we all enjoyed it very much, and I wanted to know how long exactly, how many months or whatever the girls actually performed in Vietnam when they were there.
I guess you're asking about the real group and how many months they performed for in Vietnam.
Yeah, I can tell you, they did one tour and it was about between 4 to 6 months. No one knows exactly.
Okay, well, that's it. That's all we have time for, everybody. Thank you so much.